Hello, welcome to fasboyRambles by Fastboy Creative. I'm Fastboy, and today I'm going to ramble on net worth. So let's talk a little bit about net worth. Now, if you're a young person and you're working towards building wealth, this might be somewhat of a new concept for you, and it might even seem a little bit foolish if you don't own very many things yet. But the very basic understanding of net worth is the value of the things you own minus the amount you owe on those things. So we'll refer to those things as assets primarily. And generally everybody has some assets, and when you're a younger person getting started, or whether you're starting over with $0 or whatever the case might be, you probably don't have a ton of large assets. So I encourage you, just for the purpose of learning how to understand net worth, that you think about the things in terms of the things that you do have, regardless of their value or not. I like to say create a spreadsheet, create a net worth spreadsheet. You probably can find a lot of good ones online. They may be more complicated, include more things than you need, so you may be just as well off to create your own from scratch. And if you don't know what a spreadsheet is, I suggest find out. And if you don't know how to create a net worth spreadsheet, it's kind of a small investment. Find a way to make that happen. You could actually do it on a piece of paper with a pencil, the old-fashioned way, if you needed to. But I would start out by just listing all the things that you own that may have some value, and then on the right-hand side of the page, list the amount you owe against those things. And if that's zero, then that's simple. So if, say, for example, the only thing you own is a car, and that car is worth $6,000, if you were to sell it today and you don't owe any money on it, your net worth is $6,000. If you own a $6,000 car and you still owe $3,000 on it, if you were to liquidate your assets today by selling that car, then your net worth is $3,000. So it's a pretty straightforward formula or thing to understand. And I'm going to mention here a little bit on a side note too, just because it should be said. I know young people hear this a lot and don't like it. I didn't like it when I was young, but it's a good idea to understand what your monthly expenses are every month as well. It's kind of unrelated to net worth, but I think it's a good idea for you to understand, how much money that you make, how you use it, and where it goes, and be honest with yourself about that. Because as we go into this net worth discussion, you need to understand how you're going to build your net worth, right? I mean, that's generally the reason I would recommend that you look at it, is that you understand, are you going in a positive direction or a negative direction? Are you right side up or are you upside down? To give an example of what it means to be upside down is, let's just say you own that, you have that $6,000 car and you owe $10,000 on it, and you need to settle up today. Once you sell that car, it's a negative $4,000. So that actually you're upside down. Your net worth is negative. You have negative net worth. So that's a situation that you want to try and get out from underneath as soon as you can. And credit card debt and other things like that can cause that to be a problem. And another big thing is having a big mortgage. But the reality of that is, generally when you buy a house, it's worth more than what you owe on it. And the banks pretty much make sure of that. Although it can happen where you buy in a bad market and end up with a piece of property that's worth less than what you owe on. And again, that can put you upside down. That's a bad thing. But I think for the most part, most people do not start out upside down, and I would encourage you to not get in that situation that turns your finances upside down in that way. So what I like to do is say, make a list of everything you own, and whatever that might be. You might have a baseball card collection. If you're female, maybe you have a vintage dolls collection or some other thing that's kind of collectible. You may own a vehicle or two. You might have a car. You might have a motorcycle or some other thing of value like that. If you're a guy, you might have a lot of tools. Well, I shouldn't even say that. Maybe the women have tools too. But if you have a good set of tools and you buy name brand tools, those have value. If you ride a Harley and you got a Harley Davidson anything, those things have value. So even if you own a Harley Davidson leather jacket, those can be worth hundreds of dollars. So again, as you get up in value and net worth, a banker or an accountant or other people like that aren't going to want you listing a bunch of tiny little things on your net worth spreadsheet. But I would encourage you to understand the things that you own that have value, and those things that would be saleable should you need to recover that money or borrow against it, or whatever the case might be, and understand, are you operating at a positive net worth, a break even, or a negative net worth? So a basic spreadsheet would be, hey, list the things I own going this way, list next to it what the value of those things are, list next to that what I owe on those things, and then get the difference between that. And at the bottom of that difference totaled up should be your net worth. Hopefully it's positive. If it's not positive, you need to work on getting that turned around as soon as you can, in a meaningful way. If it's because of your car, maybe you get rid of that car and buy a car that makes more sense, that isn't that's going to either appreciate in value or isn't going to depreciate faster than the money that you owe on it. Sometimes if you are living beyond your means and you pay more money for a car than it's worth, and then it's got 200,000 miles on it while you're still paying for it, those kind of situations can lead to the upside down scenario. Anyway, let me move on. Evaluate your net worth on a regular basis. So I like to look at mine monthly, and depending on what your net worth is and how many assets you have, it may change more frequently or less frequently than mine. Well, in my case, I own multiple businesses and I have many different investments. I have lots of different collectibles. And so my net worth spreadsheet is comprised of many, many different things that overall give me the aggregate of what my net worth is. So in your case, you may have fewer things or you may have a bunch, but I would say get them recorded and watch them monthly. And then you can start to understand, are you starting to build your wealth, or are you losing on your wealth? Is your net worth changing at the rate that you expected it to? Well, like I said, to start with, it's kind of slow going, but maybe there's some things you can do right out of the gate. We talked about some of those things in previous episodes, and we'll talk about others in future episodes. How do I build some assets right away, right? There's a lot of different ways to do that, but if you are focused on net worth and understanding that, you can understand if you're improving your situation, if you're going positive, or if you're getting upside down. The key thing I like to tell people is, don't be surprised. Either you should be making the money that you're expecting to be making, or you should be losing the money that you expected to lose, but it should never be a surprise. And if your net worth is going negative, you should be sure to understand it and why it's happening that way, and that was part of the plan. And if it's not part of the plan, what it is that you're doing to turn that around. So again, in closing, to summarize, net worth is not a big deal, but be sure that you understand it. Understand what the assets are that you own, understand what the value of those assets are, and be honest about that. And then understand what you owe on those assets and what the difference is between those things. That's your net worth, and what are you doing to keep that moving in a positive direction versus a negative direction where it's going to put you upside down. Anyway, I hope that helps you to understand net worth, and I hope I've done you some good today. So Fastboy is done rambling on this topic for today. We'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks.